When I say this is going to be the highest leverage, 2 hours you're going to spend watching this video. I don't know how long this is going to be, about 2 hours of editing this. I really mean it, because in this video, I'm going to put everything, and I mean every single thing. I'm going to break down exactly how to build an aesthetic physique. And in this video, I have boiled 4 years of experience into this just one really small video, not really small, but you get a point. And every single lesson that took me from going from skinny fat to aesthetic. So lay in your chair, grab some ribeye steak, and enjoy this, because you can see here, I literally did this myself. I was skinny fat. You can see here, I wasn't really jacked at all, and now I look like this. This is how I also look like in the gym. The reason I'm doing this is because if you build an aesthetic body as an entrepreneur, you will have more confidence, you will have more energy, which will make you more money, and you will be healthy for the rest of your life, which is just overall benefit when you think about it. If you can just be healthy for the rest of your life, have an amazing health, well-being, and you can look like this, you can be jacked and walk around with this physique 24/7, that is just one of the best investments in your life, and it is. So, I promise to teach you everything that I know about building the aesthetic physique, because honestly, life is just not the same after you build it. And so my plan in this video is to cover the Unbreakable Mindsets, which is the first module. Then we go to diet, then the history of diets, or how are we eating this diet that we eat today, the food pyramids and everything. That is pretty much like some kind of dogma, let's just say it like that. Which food to eat, which to avoid, nutrition, diet split, post, pre-workout meals, training, and a lot more. As you can see over here, didn't even list everything, but this is what we're going to cover, as you can see in this video. So watch this video, and I promise to you, if you give this video your full attention, you're going to learn exactly how to build an aesthetic physique, and you will not regret spending your time with this. As always, let's begin. So the first thing we're going to speak about is the Unbreakable Mindset. Now, I recommend you watching this whole video in the order, because that is why I put it in an order, duh. Because mindset, as you can see over here, it's one of the most important things. Mindset is like the base. If you imagine the pyramid, so like this, if the base is garbage, then you cannot build pyramid that is tall. So pyramid is only tall as its base. That is why the first thing I'm speaking about is mindset, is because mindsets are really important. People love to skip them because they don't sound as cool. But if I'm going to be honest, they're more important than even training itself. Honestly. Like sometimes mindset can literally outweigh the training, diet, nutrition more than anything else. And then comes the diet, nutrition, training, and everything else that you probably are a bit more enthusiastic about. But mindsets are the most important, and you cannot skip them. So don't skip ahead. Stay here and watch this part of the video, because this is one of the most important parts. I don't want you to be like most of the guys who just skip ahead and watch videos they like to watch, or the parts they like to watch, because what you like to watch will not get you there. Because if it did, you would already be there. It's the mindset that you probably lack that is stopping you from being aesthetic. So that is why I first go over to mindset. So, the Unbreakable Mindsets. Now there's a couple of them. I could add even more, but I just want to quickly summarize most of them and the most important ones. So first of all, the first mindset is your expectations are wrong. It isn't hard to build muscle or get aesthetic. And what I mean by this is that it isn't so hard to get jacked, but here's a problem, is that the person who you are right now isn't the person who can do it. And that is why it's hard. For a millionaire to make 10K a month is easy. It's easy. But for somebody who is a normal average person, it's hard. And the reason is because different mindsets, different people. And that is why you have to realize that you are here today because of mindsets you carry about yourself. And the reason why I put here like setting a goal to hit 10K a month, because I had this goal about 1 year ago, one and a half years ago. And I just thought I'm going to hit it, so much faster than anybody else and whatever. I was a special snowflake. And turns out that I wasn't. And it's actually way harder than I thought it was going to be. But it isn't because it's fundamentally hard, because it's universally hard, but it's because I was somebody who wasn't compatible with a goal. I was somebody who couldn't make it happen. And so it isn't that the thing is hard, you just have wrong expectations, because you're not trying to achieve a goal, you're trying to achieve a person who can achieve the goal. You're trying to achieve a person who can actually make the goal happen. And that is what nobody understands. That is what 99% of people who are watching app videos, summer shred videos, which nothing against them, people are making money their way, they don't understand this, is that it isn't so hard, it's just the person who you are isn't compatible with the goal, and that is why you keep on failing. So you have to realize that your expectations are wrong to begin with, and just fix that. Understand that it is hard for who you are today, but just because it's hard today doesn't mean it's going to be hard in future. So just fix that, honestly. That is the biggest problem I see with people. People think it's so hard, people have some kind of self-limiting doubt, whatever, and I'm going to speak about that also, but it just doesn't make sense. That is what is stopping you. The next mindset is you are in this for a long run or long term. And the reason why I put here, as you can see, Jeff Bezos, it's all about long term, because the first thing, I assume you probably read Letters to Shareholder from Amazon back in 97. The first thing he speaks about is this. It's all about long term. Even back then, Jeff Bezos, when his like office was literally, literally, you can Google this yourself. He used to have some kind of, I can't even like call it plank. I don't know what it was, but he used to just like stick some kind of paper on the wall, and with the spray paint, he wrote down Amazon.com. Back in those days, he used to say this thing. It's all about long term. When he was literally working from a garage. So the point is that it is about long term. Just because it sucks right now doesn't mean it will suck in the future. The same thing I said with expectations. You should look for the future term. You should look for the long term, not what is right now in front of you. Because what is right now in front of you is not what is actually the reality. Because again, you as a person define your reality. If you're somebody who hates snowboarding, then no matter how much snowboarding you do, it's going to just be painful. But if you're somebody who likes it, and that is just, by the way, a different person, how you see the snowboarding as itself, you're going to enjoy it. So the point is that it's all about long term. It's all about long term. As long as you just stick with one thing, even if it's calisthenics, bodyweight workouts, weightlifting, it really doesn't matter. As long as you stick with one thing for long term, and you just do the principles for building more muscle, and you improve your diet, which I'm going to speak about, everything, you're going to get jacked no matter what. It's just because you're in this for a long term, and that is why you're actually going to get jacked. Because you're thinking 10 years up front, not just 2 months up front, which most people think like that. They just want to get ready for summer, lose some fat, get some abs, and then go back to eating ice cream and junk food, which is just stupid. You're in this for a long term. The third mentality or third mindset is building a habit. It's really hard to get jacked if you don't have a habit of working out. It's almost impossible. I would quite say it's impossible. And it's same with content or cold calls or cold DMs, anything you might do as an entrepreneur. And so the point is that you just have to build in a habit. That's really it. If you're building a habit of working out, you're going to get jacked every single time, because it is pretty much all about habit. Now, at some point, habit isn't the only thing you need, but it's one of the most crucial things for beginning. If you don't have a good habit, then nothing else will really serve you. Honestly, you just have to have a really good habit to be able to start working out. And the way you build a habit is you just go through some cycles of pain. When you don't want to go to the gym, you still go, and that's really it. And it's also about changing who you are, changing the person who you are. If you see yourself as somebody who's going to the gym, you're going to build a habit of going to the gym really easy. Now, the next mindset, the fourth one, is consistency over perfection. With doing, you become better. And I'm saying this right now because maybe your gym will not have everything you need. Maybe. Maybe you go to the holiday, you change the gym for some time. Maybe, I don't know, something else happens. It really doesn't matter. Whatever else happens. But something will happen, and something will create a circumstance. But the thing is that you shouldn't look for the perfect scenario, because perfect scenario never happens. What happens is just you getting by with the scenario you're right now in. Like nobody, and I mean nobody, who is a self-made billionaire had it easy. But the thing is that they all started from the same position. They all started with being resourceful, and that is why they got to where they got. So the point is that you shouldn't look for perfection, you should look for consistency, which means you want to go for consistent progress over time, but not trying to make it perfect. Because if you try to make it perfect, if you try to go to the gym and it doesn't have something that you need, for example, in this workout program that you made yourself, okay, change it up. Like, I changed my workout 1,500 times and I still got jacked. It's just because I was consistent. I wasn't perfect. And I want to drill this in your mind, because a lot of people love perfection, because it is the blame they just love to put on other people. They say, I didn't do it because of them, because of this condition, because of this circumstance. But the thing is that that condition, that circumstance, even if it was there, you're still a person who cannot do it because you still believe in it. And so the point is, you just want to make sure that this condition, this circumstance just disappears. And you don't want to be perfect, or you don't want to be somebody who's perfectionist, because you will never get jacked like that, honestly. Because you're always going to say, oh, this guy is using this machine now, I cannot get that now, and well, you see this guy over here, he's doing this, and then, oh, well, this, you just have to change it from time to time, and it's fine. But as long as you stay consistent, as long as you have other mindsets in place and other principles in place, you're going to get jacked every single time, because it is about consistency over long term. It isn't just about perfection, about this one workout that really works for you well. Yeah, sure, there is some truth to that, but you should be able to adapt and be agile and resourceful in any single point of your fitness journey. Is being resourceful, being consistent, and not perfect. Now, the fifth mindset is you versus you. And this is the biggest one, really, because it's always you versus you. You maybe know this with self-sabotaging in business. When you do something and one day is on a roll, you're on a streak, closing calls, speaking to clients, making a bunch of things, working on a bunch of things for your business. And then the next day you just wake up and you just don't want to do anything. You start scrolling, you start doing some garbage, bullshit that you probably don't even need for business to grow. And the point of this is that you will be your biggest enemy until you cast such a big shadow to your enemy or to your current self that he just has to submit to your future better self. And when I say this, I mean it in a literal sense, because the person who you are right now is the person who cannot get jacked, is the person who doesn't like working out, is the person who has limiting beliefs, is the person who doesn't really have a bunch of going on for his life, probably. Because if you have low energy, if you don't have a bunch of muscle, if you don't have a bunch of confidence, other areas of your life are also going to go to whack, honestly. And so the point is that you're always against yourself. Even I myself am against myself. Like, I didn't want to record this today, honestly. Like, I'm just being completely honest. I felt a bit lethargic. I woke up with less sleep today, and I didn't want to do this. But the point is that it's always me against me. And I still did it. Because no matter what the circumstance I'm in, I'm going to do the fucking work, no matter what. And until you have this kind of mindset, you will never beat your current self. Because your current self wants pleasure. Your current self wants to not die. But the thing is that you have to commit a psychological suicide. So just understand that you're against yourself every single time. Every single time you're going to fight this battle. Sometimes maybe more times, sometimes maybe less times, but the point is that you're always going to fight this battle, because it is the mindset that you need to win. Because your mind likes to convince you, oh yeah, it's circumstance. Your mind loves the resistance, because the resistance creates the barrier between a person who you are and who you want to be. And your mind loves it because he wants to survive. When you think about it, the reason why you don't want to change is because your mind just wants you to survive. If you would attack an animal, pig, or let's say some kind of wild boar, it's going to run for its life. And you're doing the same thing as you're doing with that animal. You're literally just like chasing this animal with a spear in your hand, and you're trying to stab it, and it's running for its life. And you're doing the same thing with your current self and the person who you want to be. Just replace your current self with the pig or the wild boar or the whatever, and replace your current or your future self with the guy who's hunting it. That is why you are where you are, because the pig or your future self runs away from pain when he should really bathe in pain. He should be one with pain. Because if you're one with pain, you're killing your current self. And that is what is happening. You're killing your current self. And when you kill him, you get a new one, better version who's able to actually get jacked and who is actually confident in himself. And the last mindset is the painful joy. And this goes back to people who say, but I just want to enjoy my life. I just want to enjoy my life. Why would I do all these things? And I always think to myself, but this is when I enjoy my life. I enjoy my life. And this sounds masochistic. Take it however you want to take it. But I enjoy going through pain. I enjoy waking up and doing a hard workout, doing a bunch of work, scripting the video, sitting in my chair, knowing it's painful, but still doing it. I enjoy those things. I enjoy going and eating healthy foods because I know it's applying my fitness and my nutrition. And that is why I do it. It's, for some people, painful. And yeah, sometimes it is painful. It is painful to wake up and to meditate. It is painful to wake up and to sometimes do the work you don't want to do. It is painful. But when I see the impact that I can bring onto other people's lives, I just forget about pain. And so it just becomes a painful joy for me. Painful joy. That is what it is. I stop associating my life and joy with dopamine because it's a cheap substance, honestly. Like, when you think about it, you can get dopamine from literally anything. Literally from anything. It's a cheap substance. What I find as a joy is being proud of myself. That is what I see as pleasure, as joy. It's pain. And a lot of people don't understand this mindset because a lot of people are just so honestly weak. Like, honestly weak. People are just so weak these days. They think, well, pain is such a bad thing, we shouldn't go through pain. When in reality, pain is the one thing we should all go through because you're not meant to just wake up and be comfortable. You're just meant to wake up and lay in your bed and scroll on TikTok. Like, I just cannot imagine my life waking up and scrolling on Instagram. Like, that is not the life that I want to live. I just cannot imagine that. And so the point that I want to bring home is that we all have a potential to become who we want to be. But it's this painful journey you don't want to go through that is going to suck for some times, but then it's going to be just a normal day-to-day life occurrence that you're going to live through. That is what makes a man a man. Because if a circumstance made a man, then any single fat guy would be a billionaire. But it isn't a thing. It isn't a thing. Circumstances don't make you as a man. What makes you as a man is going through pain and making that pain be joyful. Because every single day I wake up, some days, yeah, I'm lethargic. Some days I had less sleep, like today. But how selfish would it be of me to just wake up and to not do the work that is right now in front of my hands that can potentially change millions of lives? Do you see how different my mindset is towards pain? You shouldn't be running away from pain, you should be going towards pain. And I mean this in every single sense. If you want to read more about this and if you want to ingrain this mindset better, I recommend reading, how is it called? Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Really good book. It really just paints this whole picture. Now, of course, you don't have to run 3 ultra marathons, but you get the point. It just pretty much paints the picture why this mindset is just such an important mindset. Because I enjoy my life when I go through pain. I enjoy my life when I work hard. I derive joy from working hard. And when I see an average guy outside who doesn't work hard, I'm like, of course he doesn't win. Of course I'm going to win. And call it complex superiority, whatever you want to call it, but that is how I see the world. I see the world as yes or no. Did you put in enough effort? Yes. Good, you're going to get the result. If you didn't, you're not going to get the result. As simple as that. So this mindset is really important. Painful joy. It is painful, but it's such a big joy derived from working out, from going through pain, from going to struggle. And really the depth of your struggle is how high you're going to success. So this mindset is really important. I mean, every single one is important, but this one I love the most because it resonates with my life so much more. And that's really it for mindsets. You have to understand that every single one of these mindsets is extremely important. And I would even say you should go back and rewatch this whole module because the more ingrained this becomes in your mind, the more fertile it will become for other information. So these, how much? 6 mindsets are one of the most important mindsets, especially this one. Like this one, if you understand this, you're a fucking G. This is the most important one. These two, I would even say. These other ones are also important because like it's a long-term game and you should be stuck here for the long term. But these ones are the most important because if you conquer yourself, if you make yourself somebody who can actually, when you're going to win, I mean, any single way around. So just make sure you understand these two mindsets really well. And again, you can read, I should even put here, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I didn't. Okay, like this. Nice. You should read this book, really good book. And yeah, that's really it from mindset module. Now the second module I want to speak about is your diet. In the past, let's say, I would even say 40 years, about 40-ish years, we have the worst health we ever had. I mean, really in the last 2 million years, but these 50 years are horrible. We are dying with diseases that we never even heard of, and we're eating what we never ate. And this over here is really important because this sets up the whole scene, which I'll talk about just in a second. So to begin with the diet, I want you to understand one thing. And it's that we must assume nothing. Because as you can see, the diet we have these days, what people are eating and diseases they're getting and obesity and everything else, it's because we are assuming something. We're doing something that isn't right. Which means if there's a problem in a system of us eating, there's huge chance that there is some kind of principle, the first principle that we're missing about diet. So don't assume that fiber is good for us. Don't assume that food that we ate in past 50 years is good for us. Don't assume that red meat is giving you cancer. Ground zero, I mean bottom. Like you don't even know anything, any single clue about studies, any single clue about what people are talking about. Even that a vegetable is good, assume nothing. Like literally, assume nothing. I want you to like just turn it off your brain and just listen to this whole module because it is going to make sense. And if you're somebody who, eats a bunch of vegetables, eats a bunch of all these things, you have to turn off your mind because you will see. But please just turn off your mind for this thing because trust me, we have been manipulated to believe that most of the food we're eating these days is actually good for us when in reality it isn't. And I'll actually prove you how this has been done. So the first principles of dieting. Now why I'm putting this over here when I said assume nothing is because there's still some principles that we have to follow. For example, eating whole foods. Now you may say, well, how is it a principle? Because we have always been eating whole foods. We never ate processed foods. We're looking at pretty much what the first principle of dieting is. We are looking at what our ancestors ate. This is the most important one. We're looking at evolutionary biology. We're going back to the time because we assume nothing. We just don't know what we should eat today, but we have evidence of what we ate years and years and millions of years ago. So we're looking at that the most. So this is like the most important one. Then of course the next first principle is eating what our biology has designed us to eat, because it is again the first principle, what we ate. Nature's instinct, which I'll explain just in a second, pretty much what we as humans want to eat, or I should probably say what our ancestors wanted to eat. Okay, get the point. Just put this in a past sentence. What our ancestors would like to eat, pretty much. And the next one, or the fifth one, is eating what was the most available to us, looking past 2 million years ago. So you just like put pretty much every single one of these in past, because we cannot base anything on a study, because studies are being done by people who don't want good for us. Like if you don't know, most of the studies that are being done on diet, fruit, meat, anything really, like really anything, even oats and cornflakes and everything like that, was paid by Coca-Cola, paid by other people who make those foods. So if, for example, they do like study on oats, like the oat company pays these guys to do study on oats. Do you think they're going to publish something bad about it if the guys who are making oats are paying money for that? Of course not. So that is why I'm telling you this right now. That is why we're going from a ground zero, literally first principles of dieting. I just also want to mention quickly that I have a whole video on a diet you can watch on my channel. It's called Dieting Was Hard Until I Understand These 4 Concepts About It. You can just go ahead and watch it, really good video. But I'm going to pretty much explain everything in this video that I talked about in that video, so you don't have to watch it. Why do we have this modern diet that we have, you might be wondering? If it's that bad, why do we then have it? And it really goes back to this woman over here. Now, if you don't know who this is, I mean, I will get ranty over here a bit, just so you know. I'm just preparing you for the rant. I just want you to genuinely ask yourself right now, would you trust this woman? I mean, just look at her. Would you trust this woman? I won't. She looks like somebody who isn't healthy. Well, guess what? She's the person, and the reason why I wrote here $1 Billion Network is because she's the person who is the reason of our medical dietary problems. This person over here. So, to go back to the whole rant and to, let's just say, begin with this. She was some kind of prophet for this Seventh-day Adventist church, and to not make the whole story be supremely long, she was giving people bland plans to suppress their hormones because teenagers were horny. I mean, literally. She had some kind of vision from the God that, you know, people shouldn't masturbate, people shouldn't, I don't know what even else she was like writing in her books. The woman was just insane, pretty much. And so she started this whole kind of cult around her to eat plant-based foods, to just eat bunch of crackers. Like, she was literally inspired by fucking crackers to make plant-based diet a thing. She even put a quote from a Bible in her like books with meat, how meat was bad, even though there is millions of references in the Bible that meat was actually good, but who cares? And so that was pretty much the birth of plant-based diet. This woman over here then went on and pretty much was in contact with John Harvey Kellogg, which was typesetter for her books. So this guy was working with this woman over here, and he was the guy who also made Kellogg's, and you can see the ingredients over here. I mean, this should tell you enough, really. But pretty much, as we move on, there was more and more people who were involved with this, more and more people who were just, you know, this whole network. You can see this guy over here, Nathan Pritikin. He was the guy who also was the father of plant-based diet. He read all of her work, so this woman over here. Then he was also the guy who made this whole food pyramid, which was not that good, as we know now. He was also teaching in this school over here, and there's just so much problem. Now, the big problem in the big picture is that this woman over here, like single-handedly, right now, her religion controls our diet, as you can see, because you have lifestyle medicine in Australia, you have in Global Alliance, you have America, Nutrition Adventist, you have again Australia. All these guys, okay, all these companies are owned by these people who were all coming from this woman over here. Literally, you even have like here in the name, Adventist, and she was part of Seventh-day Adventist Church. These people are all linked, and they don't want you to be healthy. They want you to just have some stupid religious belief inside of your mind that oats are good, that plants are amazing, that vegetables are healthy for you. And that is why, like, honestly, we can just do this experiment right now. Are vegetables healthy? Let's go with that. Important for your health. And if you can see vegetables over here, I can give you right now like 10 of vegetables over here that didn't exist in past 200 years, honestly. Carrot didn't used to look like this, pepper same, broccoli didn't even used to exist 200 years ago. What else is even here? Some eggplants, then what else? I mean, most of these vegetables didn't even exist 200 years ago. And they're telling how they're healthy, and we never ate them. And what did I first tell you about diet is that we're getting sick because we ate what we never ate. So the point that I'm trying to make over here is that these people are promoting a diet that we never ate, and foods we shouldn't be eating. Like, there is clear evidence. This guy over here tells, like, what? Bread, cereal, pasta, 6 to 11 servings. Man, that is too much pasta and too much bread. But when you look back to the Bronze Age, and you can even do this, you can even track this. I like watched a documentary today about the Bronze Age and what people ate, Stone Age, and all these like parts of our past. Every single time they ate more cereals, more rice, more bread, more pasta, they got sick. Every single time. Like, I'm telling you right now, every single time they ate these kinds of foods, they got sick. And this was the guy who was a doctor who told that this is the healthiest food you can ever eat in your life. So just think of it for a second. And he was also the guy who read all the Ellen G. White books, and this one was like fucking insane. Like, she was like insane. I mean, literally insane. So their whole point is to push this ideology to stop being horny. It isn't about diet. It isn't about health. It is just this weird, fucked up ideology that they're trying to push on other people that plants are healthy for you. Even though when you eat plant-based diet, and I'll show this like later, you lack in like tons of minerals and tons of vitamins. Even though you eat plants, even though you're, for a standard, eating everything what this woman over here said to you. And back then, she didn't even have like a fucking microscope. I mean, she had, but you get a point what I'm trying to make. Is that this woman didn't even have anything that could actually show that was actually healthy for you. Only reason why she did it is because it was some fucked up ideology, and these people right now are in a control of everything. And I mean everything. Lena Cooper was the person who founded the Academy of Nutrition and Dietitians and was chief dietitian at the Battle Creek Sanitarium, which was also the part where this guy, John F. Kellogg, worked, and later made with his brother, Will, the whole Kellogg cereals. But these all people are just all connected. As you can see, Sanitarium, and you have Battle Creek Sanitarium. You can see these people are all linked. You can just trace this. You can literally trace these people. And it's all because this woman over here was in the beginning just insane. Honestly. Because this woman was just insane. And because it was some fucked up religion everybody believed in. And so the reason why our health is horrible, I mean literally horrible, when people are dying of heart attack when they're 40 years old, is because the base, as I talked about, as you can remember from this mindset over here, our base is horrible. We believe plants are amazing. We assume these things are good for us, when indeed they're not good for us at all. So we need to replace our base. And also I put, by the way, here a book that is still taught, literally still taught, in medical schools, original textbook from Lena Cooper, and people still believe in this shit. They still believe, even though we have evidence that this diet that we're eating these days, plant-based, is causing so much problems. So that is the reason why we're so unhealthy, is because our foundation of our diet is just horrible, because we don't understand what is actually healthy for us. But yeah, you can even see like guys, for example, Dr. Gary Fettke was even targeted by these guys over here because he's a guy who is promoting the low-carb diet, and that is how he's pretty much like reversing back some diseases. I don't remember like which one exactly, but these people who are over here, you can assume that they weren't happy because their sales for their carbs and for their cereals went down when this guy was on the scene. And they literally said like, we need to get rid of this guy, Gary Fettke. So they want you to think that what you're eating is not a problem, but actually that you're not exercising, which is also a thing that probably you have even seen with Coca-Cola, with every single other food industry, or just exercise and just get your exercise in and you're going to be fine. Which no, even if you exercise, you're going to still be unhealthy if you eat which you're not supposed to eat. And that is what is happening actually today. So as you can see right now in front of you, there is life expectancy. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because expectancy for life is going down, as you can see. In past couple of years, so this is like 2021, I believe, is like probably like around here, and just a couple of more years. Oh no, this is actually 2021. So it's even worse right now. So the whole point that I'm trying to bring here is that we're catching up to the diseases. We're actually getting sicker and sicker, and like I didn't even have to tell you this. Go outside. I'm actually going to like look right now through my window and to see somebody who's obese, and I'm probably going to find somebody. But I'm not going to do that right now because I don't have time for that. But you get the point, is that we're getting sicker and sicker. But the problem that people don't understand is that we got better at treating diseases. Heart attack didn't just disappear. But what happened actually is that we just became better at fixing it, at making it go away by surgery. But it shouldn't even happen in the first place. And so my whole point with this presentation, or with this video, is to like just open your eyes and to understand that what we're eating, what these people are telling that is healthy for us. And by the way, these people, like, there is also been some kind of, I cannot say like study, but there has been one clip, one video where a guy who was owning Kellogg's literally told that you should eat Kellogg's, these cereals, like 4 times a day. It's insane. I mean, insane. And the reason why this is happening right now, why it's going down, is because people aren't eating what they're supposed to eat. That is why. You can see America, sharp decline. COVID is over. It's fucking over. Sharp decline. Why? It's because we're eating foods we are not supposed to eat. That is why. That is why this is all happening. And you can say like, oh yeah, trend is big and everything's rising up. But it's just because we got so good at treating that. Not because we're healthy, but just because we know how to fix the problem, but not actually reverse the whole problem, which is the reason why I'm making this video. Is I want to help you out, reverse this whole problem, and to not just ever die of any kind of stupid sickness. So that brings us to the evolutionary biology. And we should eat what we are biologically designed to eat. Not what people and industry, and just for the sake of getting this back, not what people and industry serve to us. So not Kellogg's, not any of these cereals. We should eat what we're biologically designed to eat. And for example, koalas only eat eucalyptus. And only that. If they would eat like some other plants, they would have died. Because other plants are toxic to koala. And you can even see this. Like, if goat eats a grass that isn't good for them, that isn't made for them, they're going to get some kind of sickness. Even same thing with the cow, even with the horse, even with any single animal. If they eat something they were not designed to eat, they're going to get sick every single time. And so we as humans have a specific diet that we thrive on and that we're designed to eat. And this is what nobody talks about. And this is why it's so gate kept. So corn didn't exist, broccoli didn't exist, Brussels sprouts, seed oils. Like all these foods you see these days, they didn't exist. And when I say they didn't exist, I mean that. They didn't exist. Past maybe 200 years, that is when they show up. When we learn how to genetically modify food, and that is when these foods showed up. And so no wonder why we're getting sick. No wonder why there is more and more people laying in a hospital. No wonder why. It's because we're eating stuff we never ate, which is the first thing that I spoke about in this whole module. So our nutrition was skewed and destroyed by SDA, which is Seventh-day Adventists, the guys that I spoke about, and was manipulated for the last 150 years. And that is the truth. Like at least 150 years. For people who didn't even have a clue what is actually a good diet. They just said, oh, this is a good diet for some reason and seems like it. When in reality it isn't even good for us. So you can see over here I put an Impossible Burger because this is what I assume a lot of vegans eat. And by the way, I have not any single thing against vegans. Eat whatever you want, eat how you want, but don't tell me what I should eat if it's not healthy for me. That's all I just want to do. But to go back to the whole point. As you can see, ingredients in this thing. First of all, water, plant protein, soy, sunflower oil. This didn't exist, by the way. This didn't exist. This didn't exist. This didn't exist. This didn't exist. This same thing. This, I think you get the point at this point. But most of these foods that we eat these days didn't exist. And especially, I don't know what the fuck is this thing. Like, look at this. And this is what people, like, if I would, Possible Burger is, is Impossible Burger healthy? At least they're somewhat right, but it's like still, sodium doesn't even matter if we're going to be honest. But all these other things, like when you think about it, it just doesn't make sense. What they're trying to tell you is that these foods are good for you when in reality they're not good for you at all. It has B3. Well, cool, it has B3, but it's like added B3. There's like still soy that is awful for human beings, or seed oils or sunflower oil. And they don't speak about these things. They speak about added B3 and thiamine, and that's what they're using for kind of a market. Wow, we have B3 in our meat, cool. But why not just eat more meat that actually has niacin and vitamin B3 and thiamine and all these other things that you probably need, and get rid of like, what even is this thing, man? Soy hemoglobin. What the fuck is even this thing? Honestly, I don't even know what this is. Genetically modified. This tells you everything. So, what changed my mind about plants? I'm saying this right now because at this point you should probably understand that plants are not what we truly ate. I mean, maybe you don't realize it by now, but I'm going to explain you why I truly believe plants were not something humans have always ate. And just please, for a second, I'm going to explain everything. I know right now you're like, wait, what? It will make sense just in a second. The first thing you can see with humans and the prey, or with the rabbit, is that rabbit has this cecum much longer. And this cecum over here is used for digesting fiber. As you know by now, maybe you don't know, but humans cannot digest fiber, which means that we don't need cecum. And if we don't eat cecum, we probably didn't even eat a bunch of plants, which is actually the truth. As you can see, our stomach is much different. We have bigger liver, bigger pancreas. You can see how our stomach is much larger, which means we can eat more quantity, heavier food in larger quantities. And our digestive system is just small. Like compare this, so this size to this size. Compare these two things. Do you see how much more different our systems are? And that is what really is like the biggest difference between humans and prey or rabbit in this whole spectrum. Now, also what I didn't touch is that stomach pH. So our pH, which is the acid in our stomach, which is used to like break down foods, we have, I believe, for humans it's about 1.4, 1.5, and you can even see this when you Google right now. For example, average stomach pH of a predator, 1.0 to 1.8. And when you look at humans stomach pH, so we can human stomach pH 1.5 to 2.0. What does it tell you? We are designed to eat mostly meat. And so the reason why I'm telling you this right now is because people don't know this. People actually don't know this. That our pH is about 1 point, depends on which human you take, but about approximately 1.5 to 2. It isn't more than 3, it isn't more than like 4. And the reason why we have such a high pH is because we have to break down bacteria when we were scavenging for food back in our primal days. And that is why we had such a high pH acid in our stomach. And that is what nobody gets. Nobody fucking gets. But that is why I'm over here to like explain everything. So our stomach pH is really low, and we have, as I said, we don't have cecum, we cannot break down fiber, which you probably right now know. And also we have 5 organs that absorb fat. I believe it's liver, pancreas, and some other ones I cannot remember exactly, but there is a couple of ones that work with fat. You can even see we don't even have colon, like we don't even have this over here. I mean, it's supposed to be like somewhere over here, I assume, like in this area, colon, but we don't have that. And yeah, rabbits have it, which means humans are carnivores, mostly carnivores. Now when I say mostly carnivores, I'll explain later why, but we weren't like fully carnivores, and we'll get to that for a second. So also the reason why I truly believe humans, what changed my mind about plants, was mostly Ice Age. As you can see over here, let's just like take for example Europe, because I live in Europe. Let's say this kind of like over here, like some kind of like mid-Europe, right? When you look at the temperature, so over here it's like maybe, somewhere like this, it's -6 degrees. Look at this. Do you think there was plants at -6 degrees over here? There wasn't. Even over here, like what would this be? -4, -5. There is no plants over here either. And so my point is that you just didn't have plants. You just didn't have plants that were actually living at this time in age. Now you had some plants, of course, you always have some plants because you would die, but they would not give those sweet big bananas that we're all eating in today's supermarket. They wouldn't give like such a big, big oranges. They would probably like give some kind of small food that was full of fiber that wasn't even tasty at all. And when you think about it, the only way humans could have actually ate and survived was eating animals, and that is what we actually ate. Because if you track down the animals that lived in Ice Age, big woolly animals, mammoths, you even have like those lazy big animals, and we hunted those and we ate those. And you can even trace this. As the Ice Age was going down, we chased smaller and smaller animals, for example like deer or whatever else, and then like even smaller ones, and we ate more and more grains. And again, you can trace this. The more grains we ate, the more Ice Age was going away, and the less big animals we ate, our brain size was smaller, which I'll also talk about just in a second. Also, one of the big things that helped me a ton with plants and understanding like why they're actually toxic is because botany versus megafauna, or actually just plants are becoming more poisonous so that animals can't eat them. So that less and less animals can actually eat them. And it just makes sense. Like plants cannot move. A mushroom cannot move. But what the mushroom can do is become poisonous. And that is what is actually happening with the mushrooms. They just become poisonous, and that is why you don't eat any single mushroom you find in a forest. Because if you just go around and you would eat random things, random plants, you would die. But if you would eat the meat, you would not die. It's simple as that. Like just think with 2 brain cells. Our eyesight. People don't know this also, but you can see, again, I'm using rabbit as an example because rabbit is a prey. Rabbit can see pretty much 360, like pretty much, not fully, but you can see there's a small gap, but it's because of his ears, but you can almost see 360. And why is that? Because there's a bunch of predators that are going to kill the rabbit. That's why. And it's trying to survive. Like that is how biology works, is you have some kind of adaptability to the nature around you, to the self around you, to be able to survive. And that is how it works every single time. You're just trying to adapt to a new circumstance. And rabbits wouldn't have the kind of eye vision if it wasn't actually helping them out. And that is why you have to realize that humans that have eyesight like this, and I mean every single human has eyesight like this, is because we're meant to hunt. We're meant to just go for the prey. We're meant to kill something. We're meant to throw something at the animal and kill it. It's simple as that. Next, rotation in our shoulders. Now you probably know this by now. You can throw something, and with a pretty big speed. Even though you're somebody who's skinny, fat, weak, doesn't even matter. You can throw something at a really big speed. And that is the point of humans, is that we were developed to actually throw stuff. And it's a perfect mobility of our shoulder to throw something. You can even go ahead and try it right now with your own arm. Try to throw something. I mean, don't do it of course, but you get a point. You can easily throw something. It's in your nature to throw something, to throw a spear, to throw anything. It's because we did it. We had this adaptability in our arms, in our minds, because we're supposed to do that. We have lived like that. Our past ancestors have used that to survive. Next, our teeth. They are adapted to soft food. We cannot even move our teeth when clenched. So if you clench your teeth right now, you cannot move them. You cannot move them left or right. Try it. You cannot. It's because we are adapted to eating mostly meat. And when I say mostly meat, I mean 90% of meat. Maybe some fruits, maybe some things other that I will speak about just in a second, but mostly meat. Next, let's go. Okay, yeah, plant defense mechanisms, of course. I don't want to forget about these. Plants have mechanisms like lanthines, phytates, tannins, oxalates, hormone disruptors. So you can see that you have mycotoxins, which are toxins inside of a mushrooms. You have aflatoxins, which is also like some kind of probably group of mycotoxins. You have other ones, and there's just millions and millions of them. You can see how long this whole PDF file is. but there's bunch of toxins that you can even see like carcinogenic, like most of them are. But yeah, if you just deep dive into this kind of research, you will find out that most of the plants that are in the supermarket, are in the grocery store, are actually really bad for you, and that is why I don't buy them. Like, I don't eat potatoes, I don't eat sweet potatoes, I don't eat any of those. I don't buy bell peppers, I don't buy peppers at all. But yeah, that is how it is. But people still say how these things are amazing for you, even though they aren't. But anyway, to go back to the main thing. Again, we have studies from other places of the earth, on the world, that showed that humans were hyper carnivores and predators. You can even see this. 2 million years ago, humans ate meat and little else, which means pretty much nothing else. And you can even see this over here. 2.6 million years ago, we ate like bone marrow and brains, which is actually the truth. The reason why we have those big stones, the reason why they were shaped like an arrow, like really narrow, is because we could break down the bone, we can get the brain, we can get the bone marrow from a bone, and we can eat those things. Then later, about 2 million years ago, as you can see, we hunted large prey size because our mind was bigger, because we had more and more fat in our mind. Then slowly we gathered even more medium-sized prey. So this is, I believe, this is elk or reindeer, I believe. I'm not quite sure. I think it's elk. This is over here is elephant. Our brain size even grew. So you can see 0.3 million years ago. Then 0.03 million years ago, smaller prey. And then about 0.01 million years ago, we started eating more domesticated plants and animals. And that is when our mind went down. And it's because we never ate those. We never ate those. We ate these animals, fine, but these plants, we didn't eat those. And that is why our brain size went down. So as you can see over here was our peak brain size at around this time. And you can even see this right now. I'm not trying to like bullshit you at all. You can see this over here is when our mind was, let me just use a different color. Our mind was at its peak over here, and then at this point, so about 0.01 million years ago, it was at its kind of peak, and then it went down by 20% because we ate these foods. And you can see how our brains grew the most in this period. And it was exactly at this time when we hunted large prey, and we hunted again like large medium prey, this time over here. So at this point you probably understand that we're designed to eat meat because meat doesn't have any nutrient or mineral that we don't need inside of it. So if you look at, for example, B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B7, and you can even like pause this if you want to read this. I don't want to go through everything right now because there is so much, and my mind hurts right now. Like I'm speaking for about, I don't even know how long this is, but get a point. We can like screenshot this, pause this if you want to read each one of those, if you want to see what they're actually doing. But again, they have cells change carbohydrates into energy, then metabolism, then providing some nutrient for body, then helping body maintain healthy teeth, skeleton, soft tissues, and everything like that. You can just, again, pause this if you want to read all these things, but I don't think it's even necessary because I'll show you why it isn't necessary. So if you would put only meat in this kind of calculator, and the one that I used, if you don't know, is Chronometer, you can just go ahead and search it online. If you just put 500 grams of meat, okay, so this isn't a lot of meat. I mean, I eat this in the morning, pretty much. You get all these vitamins. So you get B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B12, folates, vitamin A. You get vitamin K that you need. Vitamin K2, by the way, not K1 that you cannot even use. You get K2 that you can actually use. You get vitamin E. You get calcium, copper, iron, magnesium. Manganese, you think, oh, well, this is like so deficient. You don't even need this because manganese is used for carbohydrates to be able to digest. And also with vitamin C, if you have glucose in your body, they're competing for the same receptor, which means you can just get glucose and you have vitamin C pretty much. Phosphorus, potassium, selenium, sodium, and zinc. You get all of these nutrients from just meat. Think about this, from just meat. And there is no preservatives, no oxalates, no plant toxins, no brain fog, which is just kind of like a thing that I love to like joke with when talking about plants. But then over here, you have a whole ass grocery store of plants. And you might say, well, you can see like this clearly, like there's so many good things. You can see everything is maxed out. But But preservatives, oxalates, plant toxins, brain fog, carcinogenic foods, elevated blood sugar, and potential junk food craving from time to time. You get all these problems, all these things that you don't need. And by the way, like if you don't believe me, but most of these minerals, like ratios, are just garbage, honestly. Because you don't need that much calcium if you eat meat only. It's only because you eat like oxalates and other kind of things in your diet that you need more calcium. Or for example, also with manganese. You don't even need this thing if you don't eat carbs. Like honestly, you don't even need this thing. And the same thing with, for example, selenium or potassium. You don't need most of these things. Like, okay, these things are important because they are the electrolytes. But for example, vitamin C, you honestly don't even need this thing. And so the point that I'm trying to make is that you can just see 500 grams of hamburger of like ground beef, lean. And over here you can see everything that I put. Oats, apples, spinach, which has, like, and there's studies being done on this, has a ton of oxalates. Bread that is horrible for you in every single way. I mean, gluten is just horrible. Peanut butter that has a bunch of other chemicals and seed oils and a bunch of garbage inside of it that just isn't even healthy for you, honestly. The only thing here that is actually good is egg that I put in for, I don't know why, but whatever. Rice that is okay, but it isn't the most optimal thing, of course. Chicken breast, which is probably full of estrogen and probably full of other things that aren't even healthy for you. Pasta, so whole wheat that is cooked. It isn't even healthy for you again. Bread. Brussels sprouts, which are fucking awful. They're bitter, they taste awful, and not even any single kid likes it. Eggplants that are, again, awful for you. There are nightshade, which is horrible for you in every single sense. Banana, kind of decent, but I would not even recommend bananas. Black beans are horrible for you. They have a bunch of toxins. Sweet potato, and again I put here sweet potato because I just wanted to put like more calories. And again, this itself has other problems, and you can just see that which amount of quantity of food I put here to get this, and how much meat I put in to get this, and it isn't even close. Like honestly, that is the power of eating meat. That is the power of being on carnivore diet, mostly carnivore diet, because you get all the nutrients you need. Plus, you just feel amazing. So I wanted to make this list of what to avoid. And I just want to give one big note before I say this list, is that if your great-great-grandmother doesn't know what the food that you're eating today it is, just don't eat it. Like, don't eat food we never ate. Simple as that. So if it's some kind of junk food, grains, don't eat those. Rice is fine, as I said, but I don't recommend it because of brain fog, especially if you're somebody who's an entrepreneur. Any processed food with nuclear bomb ingredient list, which means that if it, like for example, the Kellogg's, you can see over here Kellogg's, so much shit. Also, the Impossible Burger, so much shit. Like you would not want to eat this thing. Takeouts, home delivery, meal prep, a lot of meal prep because they put seed oils inside of it. Anything with seed oil, sunflower, rapeseed, canola oil, just don't do it. By the way, like rapeseed and canola oil are the same oils. They just have like less of some kind of fat. It isn't healthy for you, but canola oil is like still bad for you. Just don't eat those. They're horrible for you. Nuts, seeds, beans, nightshades. So potatoes, pepper, paprika, bell pepper, eggplants, all these things are just horrible for you and just don't eat them. And most of the dairy. And I put here in the brackets, raw dairy is fine because it actually is fine. It's actually really good for you. It has a bunch of probiotics. Bunch of studies saying how dairy helps kids with asthma, with allergies a lot when they drink it when they're young. So it's amazing. And so what are the best ingredients to eat? Now I went to the whole rant and I probably think you're, oh man, that is a lot of things, and it is. But here is the best ingredients to eat. Note, find everything organic if possible. So for the protein, you want to eat high quality eggs. Pasture raised organic plus grass fed beef, deer, lamb, goat, bison, red meat, essentially, red meat. If you buy pork or if you eat pork or chicken, just make sure you know where it's coming from, because a lot of times they feed pork or chicken with soy, which you don't want. You don't want soy in your diet. You don't want to eat fucking plants, which we just talked about in a second. You don't want to eat plants. You don't want to eat soy. You don't want to eat any of those things our ancestors never ate, because you can trace down how their teeth, like literally teeth, fell apart because they ate soy and they ate these kinds of foods. Like if your teeth falls apart, it means there is some problem because you will not be able to live in the nature with a fallen off teeth. You won't be able to eat. It just makes sense why you would not want that. For carbs, the best carb source is fruit, honey, and berries. Now, I myself am doing experiment with carbs a bit, and I would say you have to be careful with carbs because carbs are something that people respond differently. For example, for me, apples, they work horrible. And I mean horrible. But berries are decent. Not the best, but decent. Honey, decent again, but I just don't feel that good on carbs. The reason why putting them in is because I want to build a bit more muscle and it's giving me optimal osmosis for hypertrophy pretty much. So that is why I'm doing that. But anything else of these carbs over here that I wrote down, I would not even recommend. Rice is decent, best of all grains. Sweet potato is also decent. Fruit is okay. I mean, it's better than bread 100%, but I would just still say to you, be careful with fruit because you can actually, overeat on fruit if you don't pay attention. And it's debatable because we didn't have fruit we have today. It's also the bit not really the best thing you can eat, but if you really have to eat some kind of fruit or carbs, go with fruit and honey. That is the best ones I have. And that is why I say get organic if possible, because if it's organic, it's going to be a bit better. Now for the fats, you can go here really, really broad. Full fat butter is really good option. Avoid margarine and anything that can spread. And that is just full of seed oils, full of other chemicals, other garbage, man. Other garbage pretty much. Raw butter is also fine. If you wonder what is raw butter, it just means butter that is made of raw milk without heating up. Like full fat butter is made of heating up milk, and then you make a butter out of it. Raw butter is just made out of a raw milk. Olive oil is fine if you find a quality one, just don't fry it. Okay, just don't fry that. It's horrible for frying. Avocado oil, also fine if it's high quality, but don't fry it. Same thing. Bone marrow is amazing. If you wonder what bone marrow is, it's the kind of thing in between the bone you can eat. It's amazing. Eat it raw. It's delicious. Raw dairy, some milk, kefir, yogurt with K2 protein. The reason why I put here K2, and I should probably bold this, because K2 protein is the protein that we can easily digest. It's much better for us to digest, and a lot of people can actually digest that much better than K1 protein from a milk, and that is why I recommend yogurt. But go with raw dairy. If you're going to buy dairy, raw dairy always, especially if you're lactose intolerant. Don't joke with that, okay? Don't joke with that. Ghee, amazing. Fat from animal products, also amazing. Just make sure that animal is grass fed. That is a better way to eat animal fat. If it's fed with soy, don't eat that kind of fat. Tallow, avocado, those things are also amazing. And this is literally, if you follow this diet right now that I'm giving you, if you eat like this, you're going to have a superhuman strength. I literally mean this. You will feel like a superhuman, because for most of our lives we just ate, at least me, I ate snacks, and snacks are not a superhuman food. So if you just eat like this, you're just going to get jacked to shit and you're going to be healthy as fuck. Okay, healthy as fuck. Especially if you follow these things, and if you find, okay, maybe full fat butter doesn't really work for me, but raw is amazing, stick with that, okay? Just you have to experiment a bit, but you're going to find the perfect one, the perfect diet that works for you. And if you find that, it's just going to work brilliantly. Now, bonus, other things you can also eat are organs. For liver, I would say 0.5 to 2 ounces a day. Don't go too flashy with this because you can actually overeat in this. It has a bunch of vitamin A. That is why you shouldn't eat a bunch of liver, but just know that if you have vitamin A deficiency on carnivore, as you can see over here, because you have a bunch of vitamin A, you just eat liver and it's going to be fine. And also just want to mention that you should eat a lot of fatty meat if you're going on a carnivore diet, because fats have a bunch of vitamin A, K, A, and other ones that you probably also want. And also I think it has a bunch of copper and other minerals that you need as a human to function. So you can also eat heart, kidney, pancreas, brain, testicles. I never ate those. I ate liver. It doesn't taste too good, but if you're somebody who can tolerate, amazing. App to use to track your macros, chronometer every single time. I recommend this one so much. So for the summary of this whole diet thing is that keto is fine, carnivore is fine, animal-based is fine. If you stick with these 3 diets, you're going to get the most output out of your diet. Now, what is BMR, or basal metabolic rate? Because you're maybe at this point, okay, I understand plants are fucking horrible, don't eat vegetables, don't eat these things, they're just hurting us, they have toxins inside of them, I don't want to eat them. Okay, but how much should I eat? What should I eat? And everything else, right? So the BMR, first of all, is how much your body is burning calories per day just existing. So if I just did nothing, and if I just sat down in my chair like this, I will still burn some calories. And so our job is to find how much calories are we burning every single day. Now, here's the thing. You cannot know exactly, but you can kind of guess, which is amazing. So just find any kind of calculator online, put your age, height, activity level, and you'll get your maintenance calories. So just do that. And again, it wouldn't be perfect, so you can even go like take multiple of those. How much is your maintenance actually? Maybe that will help you out, maybe it won't, but the point is that you want to find how much you burn every single day. And this is important because you need to know how much your body is burning every single day to be able to lose fat or build more muscle, depending on what you really want to get from this video. So path to choose. You're probably like, okay, I get it. BMR, the whole diet thing, but should I eat more calories, less calories, or should I go for heavy bulk and how much? And there's really only 3 things I recommend people to go towards, and it's MVC, body recomposition, and FVB, and I'll explain all these things. But you can see that there's like also other options like extreme cutting, bulking, and dirty bulking. These are just, dirty bulking, I don't recommend this. Okay, just forget about this over here. I don't think this is good for you. You shouldn't be doing dirty bulking at all. But these 2 things, like bulking and cutting, can be optional for some people, and it's only for those like 1% of people who maybe suffer from like huge obesity or people who are extremely skinny. Then I would say, okay, bulking or extreme cutting, depending on who you are, like obese or skinny. If you're somebody who's skinny, and I mean really skinny, I would say go for bulking. If you're somebody who's obese, I would say go for extreme cut. So I honestly recommend these 3 things in the middle because they're easiest to follow and don't require any complication at all. And that is why I'm speaking about those right now. So depending on what you want in next couple of months, you're going to choose a style that is best for you. So MVC, body recomposition, MVB. So if you want to build more muscle, you choose MVB. I'll explain each one, don't worry. If you want to get good of the both deals, you choose body recomposition. If you want to lose fat, you choose MVC. What is MVB? Minimal viable bulking. This means that you're going to increase your calories by minimal amount to make sure that it's easier for your body to build more muscle. That's it. There's also dirty bulking and generic bulking, but we're not doing those. So if you don't know what dirty bulking is, it's like just eating too much junk food, getting fucked ton of fat, energy goes out of the window, just don't. Okay, just don't do it. Bulking is like when you don't eat shit food, but you're still aiming to gain more mass, which you probably don't want. So MVB is our best choice. And the reason why MVB is best is because it doesn't tank your productivity. It doesn't tank your energy in your day, and you don't feel sluggish. So you can still work and gain muscle while bulking up, which is amazing. And it's kind of like going in a debt to open more locations as a retailer to be able to then later make more money and have more capital or muscle, essentially. Go back to body recomposition, go back to MVC, which I'll also talk about just in a second. And you can still have muscle, you can still have muscle, you can still look good, and you will just be, and you will feel flawless. Your energy levels won't be too down, too low, you'll just feel amazing. And you're like, okay, but how do I use this to actually bulk up? And so first of all, find your maintenance calories, and I also put like a link, which you can again check. And the link is just to calorie calculator. So you go over here, you put your age, you put your height, weight, activity, and you find how much you're actually burning every single day. And then just increase those calories, so maintenance, by 10%. So example, if you're somebody who is burning 2,500 calories every single day, you just add 250 calories of surplus and you get 2,750 calories. And you eat that and you're going to be in a bulk surplus or MVB and you're going to gain a lot of muscle. Simple as that. So you don't have to overthink it or spend time wondering if you ate enough. That is as long as you trained hard and did good quality sets. So it's still important to say that you have to train hard, because if you don't train hard, like this calories won't really go into the muscle, it will go just in the fat. So make sure that you actually train hard, and I'll speak about that in a second, but make sure you do that, because if you don't do that, you will just not build muscle. Simple as that. And if you struggle with minimum viable bulking, do these. Try doing these. Increase your carb intake. So if you're somebody who is like skinny, maybe like not skinny, but let's say like skinny fat, you want to bulk up. If you struggle with this, but I don't think you will struggle, but let's say you do struggle, increase your carb intake. That is the first thing. 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight, because if you eat less protein, you will feel less saturated, which means you can eat more calories. Drink your calories is also the big thing you can do. Eat with a timer. This is like really underrated because if you just put down a timer for 5 minutes and you just try to get as much food as down as possible in those 5 minutes, you're going to actually eat a lot more food. Now the next thing you can also do is like first eat carbs and drink a lot of water when you're not eating, because it can actually expand your stomach capacity. And when I say a lot of water, I don't mean like in 1 hour time span, I mean at once, as much as you possibly can, because it can actually expand your stomach. Now for the body recomposition. Body recomposition is the middle ground. You're getting good at both the deals. That is why this is the most common way to start the fitness journey out of every single one of them. So if you're unsure of which one to pick, should I go for minimal viable cutting or minimal viable bulking, you just want to go with this, with body recomposition, because it's easiest to follow, it's simple, and it's extremely simple. You don't really need to do anything actually. You just eat around maintenance calories, and that's really it. So you can still build muscle and lose fat on body recomposition, and that is why I strongly recommend to you, if you're clueless or you need more time to decide, go with this. Really go with this. But it's really simple as just asking what you want and then doing that, right? So the point is to stay as close to your current body weight while building more strength in the gym and progressively overloading to bigger lifts. So it's simple as that. You just eat maintenance calories. Around that, you can like even add maybe 100 less someday. It doesn't really matter. If you're around that, that's fine. Like you follow your natural sense of hunger. This works for you if you actually fix your diet. So if you don't eat junk food, if you eat, then you cannot follow your sense of hunger. You eat about 1 gram of protein per body weight. If you eat a lot, I would go with 1.2, so the upper end of protein, and make sure you just lift hard so the calories are pulled out of your fat to build more muscle. And it's simple as that, really. Like you just do that, you're going to actually be in a body recomposition state, you're going to build more muscle, and you're going to actually lose some fat while you're building muscle. And I recommend this if you're somebody who's clueless, if you're somebody who really doesn't know how to build muscle, because it's kind of a maintenance stage where you're trying to figure out, okay, how to do stuff, how can I bulk up, how can I cut down to look how I want to look. So if you're somebody who just doesn't know what to do, this is like the middle ground that I recommend for most people. And the last one I want to speak about is MVC, minimal viable cutting. It's when you decrease your body weight while still keeping your muscle mass. And I just nailed here one thing, and that is the calorie deficit is key. And I should even circle this actually. You cannot lose fat if you are not in a calorie deficit. There is no possible way. So you cannot possibly lose fat if you don't eat less food than you ate and you just move more. I know this sounds stupid, but there's still people who I see who are buying supplements and spend thousands of dollars on them and they don't even work. People buy these fat burners and they don't even work. So this is what I'm telling you right now. The deficit is the key. So the same rule applies over here with MVB. You just decrease the amount of calories or maintenance by 10-15%, and that's it. And so the reason I'm putting this over here, when I put this hunger scale over here, is because you want to be around this range. So in between the hunger 3 and hunger 7. And why am I giving this range right now is because this is the perfect range where most people should be actually if they want to cut. You're not trying to feel stuffed, you're trying to feel satisfied. And as long as you're satisfied, that's good. That's what you're trying to really do. You should feel hungry and then satisfied, and then hungry and then satisfied. You should move in between this range. This is really subjective, so be careful with this. And I would even say if you're somebody who struggles with cutting, as I myself have been, you should just really focus on thinking of being satisfied. Really just that. If you feel satisfied, you're going to be fine every single time. If you feel hungry, then you just go to satisfied and you just always stick in this range. And that is how you're actually going to lose fat and weight. You just by staying in this range. There is not any kind of magical thing that is stopping you, just this range over here. You don't have to eat to 8 to 9. You should go in this kind of range. If you struggle with MVC, try doing these: intermittent fasting, carnivore diet, lean meats instead of fatty cuts of meat, sparkling water. The reason why this works is because of minerals. Also, what I want to say is that don't reduce carbs, or you have to reduce carbs because there's calories coming from carbs also, but don't reduce them completely or too much, because they will tank your recovery. Next up, you want to sleep properly, drink a lot of water, and walk. Okay, these things should be like even underlined. These are like really important things. If you don't fix this, you're not going to get lean at all. Now for the macronutrient split. At this point, you probably are wondering, okay, I get everything, diet, mindset, everything we have over here, but how can I actually eat? What split? And the good thing is that the split is really simple to dictate and to find. The split you want to be going, so this is the split. You want to eat about 1 gram of protein per body weight, which means if you are somebody who is 190 pounds, you eat 190 grams of protein. Insane, I know. Now for the carbs, you eat about 0.7 to 1.2 depending on how active you are. Let's say medium range or let's say high range, so 6 to 12 hours. And this is, by the way, weekly. So if you're somebody who's active 6 to 12 hours per week, then you're going to eat 1 gram of carb per body weight, which means per pound of body weight, which means if you're somebody who's 190, you're going to eat 190 grams of carbs. It's just simple as that. It doesn't get simpler than that, by the way. And for the fat, you're going to take your body weight in pounds, and you're going to divide that by 1.25 or 1. So if you're somebody who is, for example, 185 pounds and you're active for 10 hours a week, you'll have 185 grams of protein, 185 grams of carbs, and 148 grams of fat in your diet. And that is really like your whole macronutrient split. Honestly, like that is it. I know it sounds crazy, insanely hard, but it's simple as that. If you just follow this, you will have enough carbs, enough protein, enough fat for your training and for your recovery. Now for the post and pre-workout meal, for the pre-workout meal, you want to eat most of your carbs of the day. The more carbs you eat, the closer it should be to your workout. So the carbs, when I say carbs, I mean fruit and honey. You shouldn't be going with some kind of starch vegetables, crackers, or whatever else people like eat these days, man. Like their diet is just horrible, and I mean horrible. So the more carbs you eat, the closer it should be to a workout. So think about it like 1 hour before a workout. Also add some protein with it because you want to help your body with protein synthesis after a workout. And if you eat more fat before a workout, eat the meal about 2 hours before a workout. The reason why is because fat slows digestion. So just be sure that you actually eat about, I mean, if you eat more than like 40 grams of fat, 50, you're just going to put it aside 2-3 hours before a workout. Now for the post-workout meal is when you can get really flashy and really fancy. You want to eat more fat but still have some carbs since you want to replenish glycogen, and of course have abundant amount of protein. Like that is just a standard rule for pretty much post-workout meal every single time. A lot of protein, some carbs, and you can go ahead and eat how much fat you actually want. So just note, the bigger the pre-workout, the smaller the post-workout. The smaller the pre-workout, the bigger the post-workout. You just want to make sure that you have this balance, because if you don't have it, a lot of things will go in a bad place. You just don't want to do that. So make sure you eat a meal 1 to 3 hours max after working out, depending on your pre-workout. So if you had small pre-workout meal, you want to eat that post-workout as fast as possible, and a big post-workout meal, of course, because the pre-workout meal was small. But if you ate a big pre-workout meal, then you can eat a medium-sized one in like 3 hours, and it just goes like that. Just understand that the bigger the pre-workout, the smaller the post-workout, because you already gave your body enough nutrition. So if you eat a small pre-workout meal 1 hour before a workout and you train for 2 hours, make sure you get the post-workout as fast as possible, because that is how you're actually going to build more muscle. And don't stress too much about how much fat, protein, and carbs you're eating after a workout. Just make sure you end the day with hitting your macro goals, because if you do that, that's really all you need to do, honestly. It doesn't really matter how much carbs you're eating before a workout or post-workout. As long as you're eating everything enough, by the end of the day, that is the whole point that we're trying to get to here. I'm just giving this right now if you want to actually like maximize building more muscle, to just be sure that you're going to get the most gains out of pre-workouts, post-workout meals, and whole diet. Now for the training for hypertrophy, the first principles, and the reason why we can start with first principles is because a lot of people don't actually know how to train for hypertrophy. So the first principle for training for hypertrophy is you must train hard. More stretch in the muscle and / progressive overload. So it means more sets, more reps, more weight, you're going to build more muscle. close to failure, 8 out of 10 RPE minimum. And if you don't know what RPE means, it stands for rate of perceived exertion, which just means pretty much your subjective well-being of how much do you think you push yourself. It has to be close to 10, at least. Like the bare minimum is 8, but I recommend people, my clients, to be in 9 out of 10. Of course, control reps, these are the most important ones, preferably around 6 to 12 reps. Anything below 6 is more of a strength, anything above 12 is just, I cannot say junk volume for some exercises, but for most it is junk volume. Adequate rest in between sets, 1 to 2 minutes, depends on what you do. If you do legs, you're going to need more rest. Eccentric focus, I think this is just pretty obvious. Why? Is because when you stretch the muscle, you're going to build more muscle. A long length partial zone, which means stretch the muscle. The more the muscle is stretched, the better. Now, of course, you shouldn't be obsessing about this too much, but just to know, if you stretch a muscle, you're going to build more muscle. Mind and muscle connection, which just pretty much means you're going to focus on the muscle being worked. So if you do bicep, you're going to feel the bicep being worked, and it's simple as that. So if I would right now go ahead and feel my bicep, I can feel it pretty well. And if I'm working the bicep, I'm going to try to feel the bicep. Form is must. You must keep the good form at every single point. Now, I don't say you have to go full range of motion, because that is a different part for building muscle. If you just want to build muscle, range of motion isn't really that necessary, especially if you are in the long length partial zone. So form is still a must. You have to have a good form, because if you don't, you can actually injure yourself. Intensity over everything. And this should also be applied with form. If you have a bad form with a good intensity, you can, again, damage yourself, which you don't want. So intensity is must. It is key, but with all these other things we talked about in place, in check. Now, of course, as I talked about, stress, damage, and tension, these are the principles that you must follow. When I say tension, what I mean by tension is that you have to be in an adequate amount of tension to build muscle. So if you just do the set for 30 seconds, you're not going to have a lot of pressure. Not at all, actually. So tension is important. Damage, when I say damage, I don't mean like physical damage, I mean micro tears in the muscle. So that also has to happen. And of course, stress is just when you lift hard, you're going to stress the muscle. And it's kind of like, imagine if you would traumatize the muscle. That is what you're essentially doing. You're traumatizing the muscle that it has to grow beyond what he is to be able to be strong. We're trying to pretty much traumatize the muscle for muscle to grow. Less but quality is better than or greater than more than quantity. And this is just pretty big one. I should actually bold this, because a lot of people don't understand this. They don't follow this one, but it's one of the most important ones. And of course, well-fed just pretty much means you're in calorie surplus for easier muscle growth. So if you follow these principles, you can get aesthetic no matter what kind of exercises you pick out, provide they're generic ones that actually work. And that is why I'm really making this whole course, is because if you know the first principles of everything, you don't really need me anymore. I mean, that's really what you have to understand. If you understand all of these principles and you just pick out something you like to work on, you're going to get jacked every single time. Now, you might be wondering, how many times per week should I work out? And for me, really maximum amount, if you're somebody who's an entrepreneur, I would say maximum about 5 times. Now, you can go with 6, but ideally fitness isn't your main thing, which means that you probably don't want to just focus on fitness. If that is the case and you want to build muscle, go with 5 times, 4 times, even like 3 times can work decently well for somebody. But the whole point is that you need at least 1 day of rest per week. Don't be dumb. I try to just not listen to this rule, and every single time I did, I wasn't building any muscle. Just don't be dumb like me. Learn from my mistake. So just at least 1 day of rest. I would even say preferably 2. Maybe like sometimes even 3, depends on how hard you train. If you train like me really hard, 2 days a week are minimum. And I mean minimum. If you train hard, do a lot of rest days, because in the rest time you actually build more muscle. Believe me or not. Now, the length of the training, you want to keep it max 2 hours. I see people who just train for 3 hours, and I don't know how the fuck somebody can train for 3 hours. Keep it minimum. Keep it as short as possible. Ideally, you make it max 2 hours, but if you go overboard, for example, if you do kind of like long workouts, full body workouts, you can do those, but just make sure that you do them not as frequently as the other ones. So what I mean by this is, for example, if you go 2 times a week in the gym, if you go beyond 2 hours, fine. But if you do it 5 times a week, then there is a problem. You're not doing something right. So if you can train the same muscle group for more than 1.5 hours, you're not training hard enough. And that is the core fundamental truth. You're not training hard enough. Like 1.5 hours is for me like perfect. It's for me perfect. Even sometimes less. Yesterday was my arm day and I literally got such a huge pump for just 45 minutes, even less. And after those like 6-7 sets of bicep, I'm like, how can people even do more? I just don't feel my bicep at all. And that is the case. And I realize people are just not training hard enough, and that is why their bicep, and that is why they don't build a lot of muscle. You have to train hard, and it isn't that hard, but you have to just have the mentality and be able to push through it, because if you push through hardness, you can actually grow muscle. And if you want to make sure that this is going to be max 2 hours, you keep 6 exercises per workout, since you don't want to deplete your energy too much. And that is just one key rule that I have for myself. I do about 6, sometimes a bit more, like 7, sometimes a bit less, depends on what I'm doing. If I'm going to do, for example, chest, I could even go by with like 5. But I then do maybe lateral raise, which is like 6, and maybe like abs, which is 7. But around 6 is when you want to keep your exercises, because if you go above 6, you're going to deplete too much energy and it's going to take too much of your time. That is how you make your workouts not too long, but you also make them really effective, is by doing around 6 to 5 exercises. How hard should you train? Until you feel like the muscle is burning. Fuck the science, and I mean in a literal sense. Fuck the science and 1 to 3 reps in reserve. Train until your muscles give up. Yes, you heard it right. Train until your muscles give up. Because there's a bigger dude who's training without these kinds of reps in reserve and who would laugh at you when you would say to him that this is how you train. You think about reps in reserve. Just don't. Just don't do that. Trust me. When I think about reps in reserve, like I never hit hard workouts. I did it once and my workout was just such a garbage workout that I was like, just fuck it. Let me just go to failure. And guess what? I did it and I felt a pump again to failure. But if I didn't do that, I would not be able to know how hard can I push myself and how hard should I train. And so the point is that just push yourself to failure, because every single time you push yourself to failure, you're just pretty much moving the needle. You're moving the needle. That is for sure that you're moving the needle. If you do this 1-3 reps in reserve, first of all, it's really subjective. And if you do legs subjectively, that is really bad. And second of all, it just doesn't make sense. Like our ancestors didn't just lift rocks and were like, I could have lifted this rock 3 more times, which means I'm at a perfect hyper. No, just lift hard, okay? Just lift hard. So that is how hard you should train for building muscle. Now for the frequency at which you train, or frequency per week, for maximum hypertrophy, you want to train each muscle group twice a week. But if you're somebody who's an entrepreneur, I assume, or I guess so, you don't have that much time, or you don't want to do it, or whatever else might be the problem. And okay, you don't have to. Although I would say it is an important thing, it isn't the most important. People say how frequency is important. Yeah, sure it is. But if you just do hard workouts and hard sets, you're still going to build muscle. So if you want to gain more muscle, just train hard. Do enough volume, because those things are what are going to build you more muscle than anything else, honestly. Anything else doesn't even matter close as to volume and how hard you train. If you do those things, you're going to build muscle every single time. So just do those. Enough volume, enough sets per week, and if you focus on those, which I'll just talk about in a second, you're going to build muscle. Even if you just train each muscle group once a week. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it is good for more hypertrophy, so if you want to focus and get more muscle quicker and faster, go ahead, train twice a week, same muscle group. But if you don't have time for that, you will just build muscle a bit slower, and that's really it. So don't focus on this too much, don't stress about this too much. I just wanted to mention quickly, because people speak about this a lot and you might be wondering, well, how much should I train each muscle group per week? And this is the answer. You want to train it twice a week if possible. If not, even once a week is fine. It's decent. You will still get jacked and build a fuckloads of muscle. Now the aesthetic muscles. So you have the principles, you know some things about working out. We still didn't cover everything, but you know some principles, some things. Now what are the aesthetic muscles? There are only 6 of those. I just showed 10, but 6 of those that you really have to focus on, that really give that aesthetic look, and they're the best looking muscles out of every single one of them, which are neck. Let me just grab this like this. Neck, upper traps, lateral delts, upper chest, lats, and lower abs. These are the most aesthetic muscles. I mean, the only really aesthetic muscles. Now we can also say, okay, yeah, lower chest in some areas, some genetics, but these are like for every single person. We're talking about generally. And if you wonder what are these things in brackets, it's each specific exercise hitting those muscles, which means for neck, it's neck curl, for upper trap, it's shrugs, lateral delt, it's lateral raise, incline, upper chest, it's incline bench or dumbbell press, so incline bench / dumbbell press. Lats, it's lat pull down, pull-ups, rows, I should have put here rows. And for lower abs, leg raise. For me, this is the best one. There's multiple ones. Just stick with one that you like, but leg raise, simple, it's really effective, and it works your lower abs like crazy. So as you can see over here, these are the traps. These are the traps. Let me just grab my pen. Traps. As we talked about, neck. You can already see his neck over here, but you can see it's kind of big. And the thing with the neck, you don't want to be like too big. You want your neck to be in a line with your chin. So like this, you can see how my neck is in a line with the chin. That is how much you want to develop your neck. If it isn't, train your neck. If it is, still train your neck, because having big neck is actually really helpful in really any single scenario in life, honestly. It can help you with accidents, boxing fights, matches, martial arts. I mean, it's just a cool thing to have, and it doesn't take a bunch of time, honestly. As you can see over here, we have traps, neck, then we have lateral delts, and these are the cap delts, the ones that give 3D look. Now, the reason why I mentioned these ones is because a lot of people, I mean, these days people actually build these. They didn't used to build these, but these delts are really important. The way you do it, lateral raise like this, simple. Imagine yourself as a bird flying, that's how you train it. They give this kind of a look, which is, again, thing that you probably want to be wider. Upper chest pretty much just gives a better look of a chest. A lot of people have the developed lower part of a chest, as myself also, which is why I'm focusing more on the upper chest now. But the whole point with upper chest is that it just pops up your chest. It just like gives your chest that kind of bigger look, and because of that, you just look better. You just will look more aesthetic. Next up, it's lats. Lats are the ones that actually give the wideness of a person. So if you think about a guy who is wide, huge arms like this, and he looks like this, it's because of his lats. So as you can see, this guy isn't like too wide. I mean, kinda it is. Like the reason why it's called a V-taper, if you don't know, but you probably know, but the reason why it's called is because peak of this, so peak of a shoulder compared to the peak of a waist is like this. So this is kinda V-taper, but it isn't the best V-taper we can look at. You can see how it is narrow, but it isn't like really, really narrow. So lats give the wideness. Lats pretty much just give the wideness of a person. They are the core fundamental of a V-taper, and it's what looks the best on a person, really. And the last thing is lower abs, which over here it isn't really present, but you can see that his lower abs are strong. I mean, you can just sense it. You can smell it. Lower abs are this part over here when you have like the pistols, how people call it. That is what lower abs are. I mean, we can just get rid of this and lower abs, not exercises. Let me just find something. Yeah, this is the lower abs. You can see that they don't have like the definition, but they have this like pistol kind of look, which is really, really good. Now I put this guy over here just to show you that like your back is actually one of the most aesthetic muscles you can ever build. And so also this part of the shoulder is important, but it isn't so aesthetic. I mean, every single part of the body is aesthetic, don't get me wrong, but some are more, some are less. And these 6 muscles are, in my opinion, the most important ones. I would even like put here like whole delts. I think they're important. although front delt is overdeveloped, lateral delt kind of developed, and the rear delt is the least developed in people. And you should also focus on this part of the delt, which you, by the way, if you don't know how you train it, face pulls, simple as that. So these are the aesthetic muscles. So as I was talking about neck, best response to higher volume. Plus, you don't really want to do neck with low volume. That is for sure, because just think about it. If you would put a lot of kilograms or weight on your neck without training it, you can actually injure yourself. So 3 sets of 20-ish reps is the best range for doing neck curls. That is how I find for myself, and just start slow. Okay, start with 2.5 kilogram plate, or how much is that? 4.5 pounds, around that 5-pound plate, and then you slowly add up over time. And yeah, you can just check the exercise on YouTube to just see how it actually is being performed and done. It's called neck curl. Just go ahead and search it. Now, upper traps are like neck. They respond to higher volume, but not as high as neck, so around 12 reps. Still want to keep them at around, just get back this up. Still want to keep them around 3 sets for about 12 reps. And I recommend when you're training upper traps that you shrug in or up and in. So what I mean by this is you shrug up. So this is just me shrugging up. But when you shrug up, you shrug in. Up, like this, up, and then at the same point, you go up and in. If this is in, so in, if you go up and in at the same time, you get this, right? So it's like this. And that is what I recommend doing for traps. You go up and in. So this is up, you just go up and down, up and down, up and down with your shoulders. But then you go up and in, which is this. You just go up and in. It's kind of weird, but you'll get the hang of it really fast if you just train traps, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Now for traps, you want to use free weights for this. So barbell, dumbbell, you can still use machine, but most likely you don't have one, or it's just bad. Next, lateral delt, they respond best to high volume, 12 plus reps. If you can, do even less if you want, but only when you nail down the form. That is a big problem, and also when you can feel the lateral delt. I recommend staying in the long leg partial zone, which is, for most part, which is this zone over here. So for lateral delt, it's this zone over here, where your arms are not like fully extended. So you can see this is like fully extended. You are 90 degrees to your body. And this over here is long length partial zone. So even if, for example, you do the lift or you do the lateral raise, you never want to go over here where you don't feel the lateral delt at all. You always want to be at least in some kind of degree with your shoulder or with your arm and body, at least 30 degrees, because you want to be in a long length partial zone. And if you do lateral raises and isolateral chest presses are killers. These are going to grow your lateral delts. Next, for the upper traps, you want to have a rep range of about 8 to 12 reps. Honestly, it doesn't matter as long as you feel the chest being worked. Like honestly, honest. Incline bench, dumbbell, and some flies are go-tos, and anything else you want to avoid. So machine incline presses are fine, but some are ass. Just know this. Like, I'm being completely honest. Some machine presses are good for incline, some are absolute asses. So you can just go ahead and try them. If you don't feel the chest, don't do them. I personally do incline bench press. That is, like, for me, the best one. Dumbbell is also fine, but I just don't feel that good with it. I just love incline bench press much more. Cable flies, amazing. And I sometimes add machine, but not incline ones. I add isolateral ones that I was talking about just a second. I add those are fine, those are killers, but be careful to just not fall for the bad ones. And of course, focus on lowering the weight and stretching the muscle. That is like also the big thing with upper chest. And one more tip I can give you or note is that when you train chest, upper chest, especially upper chest, go slow. Go really slow on the movement, especially when you go down, because if you focus on lowering the weight, you're going to stretch the muscle much more. And I would even say to put your arms closer, so not as a typical bench press as people do, like over here, around over here. You want to put it closer, because if you put it closer and if you put it like in this kind of angle, it kind of is horizontally to my chest. If you just put it a bit more, so a bit up high, my arm should technically be here to hit the upper chest the most, but it actually hits my upper chest the most when I put my arm a bit higher. So you can do that. That is like also a big tip. Now for lats, rep range should be around 8 to 12 reps. Same for upper chest. Just get to feel the lats ASAP, because If you don't feel the lats, you'll just not build them at all. So do more isolations, do more stuff to be able to feel the lats. And they're really easy to build with any single exercise that is generic. But the problem is at the beginning of building lats is really hard because you don't feel them. So lat pull downs, pull-ups, spiral bent over row, seated row, whatever you do, it's actually fine and it's actually good. Let me just put the bracket. It's actually good and fine, but you just have to find the one that works best for you. And when you do the lats, think about pulling the elbow and trying to sheath the sword and bending to the side. So what I mean by this, let me just get a bit technical over here. Let me just see. Okay. So when you do the lats or lat exercise, you always wanna go with your arm like this. So you're pretty much like trying to, I can say stab yourself, but you get the point. You're trying to like put your elbow to the hip, but whilst you're doing that, you're also going to go on a side. So like this, you can see what I'm doing right now. Like it looks kind of weird, but it's going to work your lats the best. So if I had some kind of weight over here, let's say this is like me fully stretched out. If I grab it like this, I'm going to do this movement, exactly this. So there's a weight, there's a kind of cable, and I grab it and I do this. You can see how I'm slightly bending over, and that is what works your lats the best. If you do it like that, you're going to absolutely blow up your muscles. And of course, stretch is a really important part. You shouldn't be afraid if the lat movement, if the lat exercise is like stretching your arm like this. You can see how this is how my arm is normally without it being stretched. A lot of people are afraid that if I would do this, then my shoulder is going to get hurt, which no. Like, of course, if you put a lot of weight, yeah, and you are not prepared for it. But if you don't put a lot of weight and you actually control it and you know how much you can do, then if you stretch your arm like this, you're going to feel your lats much more, and that is how I train my lats. So the stretch is really important, just remember that. Next up, lower abs. They respond really good to high volume. I mean, abs, easiest muscle to contract by far, you can even do it right now. Focus on the slow and controlled reps, not fast one to show for no reason. Just please control the reps, these are the most important ones. Again, 2 or 3 sets, you don't need more than that. And as always, do them at the end, because if you do them the first thing, like you're just stupid, okay? You're just stupid, do them at the end. And feel them being stretched when lowering down your legs. That is like also a big thing with leg raise. Don't go too fast, control the reps, and feel them as you're lowering your legs being stretched out. And that's really it for aesthetic muscles. Now moving on to the in-depth training. Now this is, stuff gets serious over here. You can see we have a bunch of things to cover. So for in-depth training, reps per set. Anything between 4 to 30 reps can build muscle, but the most optimal one is 6 to 12 reps. Start with 10 and see how it feels. This is the golden rule. Now, the reason why I say 4 to 30 is because, like, here's the thing. A lot of people think that 6 to 12 is like the golden range, and kinda it is, but you can still build muscle even if you do like 20 plus reps, and that is why guys in calisthenics can actually get jacked. So my point is that you just have to find what works really good for you. The best optimal one for weightlifting is about 6 to 12, but you can even go less, you can even go more. It just really depends on you. This is like the best one that by far most people use. Everybody pretty much uses. Start with around 10 and see how it feels. Set per exercise. 3 to 4 sets is the most common range when people lift. Doing more doesn't add any value at all to your training. I mean, no value at all. Less quality is better or greater than more quantity. Remember that forever. Okay, forever. Rest between sets. Now for the rest between sets, do you feel like you can do the next set? Can you perform it with the same amount of intensity as the last one? Wait, nice. Are your muscles ready? And if you answer all of these questions, then you can know if you can hit another set. And you want to rest somewhere in between 1 to 3 minutes, depending on how hard you push on the last set. Failure tends to take more rest, somewhere in between 2 or 3 minutes. And so just know that rest is mostly subjective, and so you need to be honest when you encounter it. Because some people can do more volume, and that is fine. Some people can't, and that is also fine. Just be objective with it. Know if you can actually do it or not do it. RP per set, we talked about this, rate of perceived exertion. Think of it as how much capital you have in a bank to run a business for. 1 month, 3 months. The lower the number, the more stress you have about it, and the harder you have to push to make the ends meet. It's just like that, like literally, just as explained. The less months you have, the less time you have, the more stressed you are, and the more muscle growth you're going to experience, like simple as that. So you want to be around RPE of 9 out of 10, 1 rep shy from failure. Every single set you do, except for warm-ups, because you don't want to injure yourself, of course. So always be at around RP of 9 to 10. Next up, progressive overload. This just means adding more weight, the common one, the most common one actually, adding more reps and adding more sets, which is the least common one, and I don't recommend it because if you add more sets, you're going to definitely decrease the quality, which you don't want. So you progressively overload when you get to desired rep, most likely 12 reps with comfortable weight, and afterwards you increase the weight and you drop sets to 8. It always works like that. Now for the hypertrophic exercises, which just means exercises that are going to give you the most hypertrophy, these are the ones that have the most stretch, they provide good feel, and you can easily stack more plates and progressively overload. So this thing we talked about just a second. If you have those kind of exercises, these are the best ones. So dips, bench press, barbell bent over row, deadlift, squat, whatever else, these are the good ones for hypertrophy. Now the pattern for exercise, you always want to have 1 to 2 compound lifts, 1 to 2 day specific exercise, which means if you do chest day, you're going to focus on tricep, you're going to do one for maybe like tricep, the second one for shoulder, and you want to have 1 to 2 isolations, for example, real delt, upper chest cable pull, whatever else you do. And also the most important thing is you might say, well, what if I do 4 exercises? You know, here's a 3, I can pick 1, 1, 1, then what is the 4th one? Compound lift, day specific, or isolation. You always look at this from this standpoint, from upright to the bottom. And it's because compound lifts are the ones that have the most value out of them, pretty much. You hit more muscles and you get the most bang of your buck for compound lifts. If you do 4 exercises, you pick out 2 compound lifts, so 2, 1, 1. If you do 5, you pick out 2, 2, 1. If you do 6, 2, 2, 2. That's pretty much everything. Now, muscle building techniques, you have long length partial reps, which is the best. It's pretty much when you stay in the long length partial zone, which I talked about on the lateral delt. It's when your muscle is stretched the most, pretty much when you feel the most uncomfortable on some kind of exercise. That is what is the long length partial rep. Now you can also do myo reps. I don't recommend those. Myo reps just pretty much means you're going to lift a couple of times. So imagine if you do bicep curl, it's some kind of typical set, let's say for 10, 12 reps, you do it and then you pick out lighter weight and you do 5 reps, wait 5 seconds, 5 reps, wait 5 seconds, 5 reps until you can't do it anymore. It's okay, decent, but I just don't like it too much. And the last one is drop set, and the reason why it's really good is because it's really simple, anybody can do it, anybody understands it, and it's really good for pump, especially for pump. And the way to drop set, if you don't know, you just lower the weight and you just crank until you can't crank it anymore. It's that simple. And the last thing I want to speak about for in-depth training is sets per week for muscle growth. And about 8 to 15 sets per week is the best range for most people. But as long as you train hard, so RP 9 out of 10, you should not worry about that too much. Honestly, like this is just, it's garbage sometimes. As long as you do hard sets, quality is there, everything is there you want, you're going to still build a lot of muscle. People say how 10 to 12 sets per week is the most optimal, but you don't have time for that. Just keep it simple, hard and fast. Actually, it isn't 12, it's actually 20, which I don't know how people can do 20 sets per week for muscle, but whatever, like that is for me honestly insane. But you should always stick at about 8 to 15. I find this range the best. I could even like lower this from 8 to 12, honestly. Most people respond best to this kind of volume because they're natural and not on fucking steroids. So you might be wondering at this point, okay, all these things are cool, but I want to train like a minimalist. I want to spend the least amount of time in the gym. And the good thing is, you can actually be a minimalist. And so, there's a lot of ways you can train as a minimalist, but I like this one the most. And so minimalist doesn't train, in my definition, this is my definition, just to put the guards out, trains not more than 1.5 hours, trains for a couple of days, and focuses on quick but high ROI workouts. So that means intensity and quality will matter more than anything else. which is why as a minimalist, the amount of sets you have is really small, but they're really, really good. So first of all, I want you to pick out how many days are you going to actually go to the gym, plus how much hours each time. Now, according to how much time you picked out in the workout, I want you to put an exercise per 15 to 20 minutes. So if you choose 1 hour, it's 3 exercises. Simple. And this mostly applies to compound exercises, which is the best really for this kind of workouts for minimalists. But you can still sometimes from time to time add some kind of tricep extension or shoulder movement like lateral raise or whatever else you want to really do. You're going to do each one of those for 3 sets and about 10 really high quality reps. Note, you can actually go with less, but I just don't recommend it. And the reason why I don't recommend it is because if you do like 1 set for 3 reps, like you can actually do that and build muscle, but it's just going to do so much damage to your overall system, because strength training is fucking hard, that you will not be able to work after it. And that is why I'm telling you this right now. If you do higher volume, you're going to feel a bit better. So in total, you're going to do 9 sets plus warm-up for each exercise, which equals around 1 hour of training. The only stuff that changes is the intensity and quality at which you train, because you spend less time in the gym. Everything else is the same philosophy. Just make sure that intensity and quality as a minimalist is there. If you make these things be at the right place at the right time, you have everything in a check, honestly. So the less time you want to spend per workout, the harder the set you are working right now has to be able to build actually muscle. Now, other ways to train as a minimalist, you can, again, if you don't like this type of working out, okay, if you don't want to spend 1 hour, sure, you can spend 45 minutes multiple times, so multiple small ones. If you want to do even longer workouts, if you want to do harder workouts or longer workouts, you can even do that. You can do one really, really hard day, which is 3+ hours of being in the gym, or 2+ hours, or whatever else. And you can also do the same ones that I pretty much gave you the example of, 3 average ones, which means about 1 hour. And as you can see, all of these ones are in total 3 hours per week. That's really it. And that is why you can actually train like a minimalist and you can actually build muscle, because in total you do 9 sets. And as we talked about, it's plenty enough for you to actually build muscle. And the good thing is that all of these minimalist trainings have the same principles. Just focus on intensity at which you perform the set. Control the weight, feel the weight, add the weight. If you do these things, you're going to perform really good as a minimalist. You can actually build a lot of muscle. And that is how you train as a minimalist. You just focus on intensity and quality more than anything else. Honestly, if you just do that, you're going to have even better workouts than most people do as a minimalist. So that's how to train as a minimalist. Now, the next potential concern people have is overtraining. What if I'm going to overtrain? What if I'm going to run into a whatever rut? And that? Listen, don't worry about this until you are 2 years in. Honestly, okay? Honestly, if you take rest days and if you train somewhat hard, not like a maniac, but you train hard, not like Sam Sulek, but get a point. You train hard. You don't even need to think about this. And there is a really good quote from Alex Hormozi, and I should actually probably even make this a bold statement. Don't even think about overtraining until you look like somebody who trains. And the reason why I love this so much is because people who don't look big are the only people who are afraid of this. So don't even think about it, honestly. Make sure you eat enough, don't be some extreme calorie deficit, sleep well, recover, and take minimum 1 rest day in a week. That's it. That's really it. Again, I prefer to take a rest day after 2 or 3 days of hard training, and that's just how I work. Simple. So don't even be afraid of that, honestly. Like, real talk. You shouldn't be afraid of that at all. And that being said, the second most important, the most people who are worried about overtraining are also the people who care about supplements. So, which supplements should you actually buy to build more muscle? Don't buy any kind of testosterone boosters. Most of them are scam, but I will give you which one actually work. Like, a lot of these ones are just garbage. So the supplements for bodybuilding: creatine monohydrate, really good one. Raw dairy, I will explain. That is why I put here in the brackets. Vitamin D, 10,000 IU plus K2 if you can get it. If you can't, fine, but you should still eat a lot of meat. And that is like the last supplement, tons of red meat. And I'll explain everything as I said. But what you don't want to get, whey protein. I know, sounds insane. Everybody is hyping it up, but it's actually garbage. Fat burner, anything that boosts your metabolism, BCAAs, and any kind of scammy test boosters. Or really, I should even put here like energy drinks and etc. Like these kinds of, fitness foods, even protein bars. You don't want to eat those. Just please don't eat those. And so the reason why I put as a supplement raw dairy is because raw milk or dairy has a ton of whey protein and a lot of probiotics that are actually healthy for your gut. That is why I put it there. There is one of the best, honestly one of the best supplements for humans is milk, raw dairy, that is actually going to help you out and make you more muscle, honestly. Now, sadly, countries don't sell these in supermarkets because it's actually illegal to sell those. I still don't know why, but it's really healthy for humans. Probably because government doesn't want people to be healthy, but that is a whole conspiracy itself. I don't want to go there, but you can still get them from local farmers in local areas. And also, I forgot to mention, kefir is good, yogurt is amazing, and milk, of course. And these are the best supplements, honestly. I did my own research. I tried a bunch of these boosters for testosterone. These are things that actually work the best. Creatine monohydrate, raw dairy, vitamin D, and tons of red meat. And the reason why I put here red meat is because you have carnitine, you have other things that are actually helping you out with more lifting, with more burning fat, and it's just good. And now the last part of this course is how to stay aesthetic. This course will help you get aesthetic. Now, of course, that isn't the whole point of this. My point is to actually help you stay there, because what is the point of getting somewhere if you don't stay there? The point isn't staying there. And I think this over here statement pretty much sums it all up, is that staying aesthetic is more about mindset than anything else. As you can see over here, pyramid is only tall as its base, and I just talked about it, pretty much in the mindset section of this course. But if your mindsets are as a base broken and the foundation isn't really at the right place at the right time, then you will not stay there, because staying there is the highest or like the peak of everything. And if base is small, the peak is going to also be small. That is why at some point you maybe will change a workout or diet or whatever else, and you might stop going to the gym. It's because your mindsets and your beliefs are just wrong. So first fix those. Honestly, like, it's just falling in love with the process. Because sometimes your workout will change. Sometimes you will go somewhere. Maybe you change where you live, the gym you go to, whatever else. And you cannot hope for perfection. Maybe you don't have the same machines you had in a previous one. Maybe you didn't have the same thing as you had in a previous one, or there's like new people inside. Whatever else might be the thing. But these circumstances don't make you the man. They only reveal him to himself. And so if you have a pussy mindset, if you change a circumstance, you'll be a pussy. That's just how it works pretty much. So many times it will suck to do a workout, but it's that suck that you need to grow even further. Because this is the game. There's no winners or losers. The longer you are, the better rewards you're going to reap out of it, and that is the whole point of the game, is just to keep on playing the game. That is how you get better. You stay aesthetic by loving the game, by showing up consistently, by being hyped that you're going to hit a workout 95% of the times. Sometimes you're not going to like it, fine, fair enough, but most of the time you're going to be hyped. And that is the whole point of the game. So just don't quit. You wake up and you get to be the best version of yourself. Think about it like that. Like you can go and chase your goals every single day and become the person who you want to be. That is the blessing itself. Like you can wake up every single day and chase purpose to give this mortal life a meaning. That is what you're doing essentially with fitness. And that is why, honestly, for me, fitness is one of the best things in my life. Honestly, I just love it because it gives me purpose for this mortal life I have on this planet. And, you live in a time where you can be whoever you want to be. You can pursue entrepreneurship. it would be a waste if you don't pursue this kind of life. You cannot lose if you don't quit. And that is how you stay aesthetic. Is you live and you ingrain this mentality that you are this person, that this is who you are right now. So if you're somebody who's an entrepreneur, and if you find this whole course valuable, because it took me a load of time to record this whole thing, then down below you can check out the links. First link is Discord, second link is my one-on-one coaching. You should click those and you should go there, especially if you're somebody who wants or who lacks confidence, who wants to build a stable to get more confidence, because I help entrepreneurs who are like that in coaching, consulting, business, trying to build aesthetic physique so they can have more confidence and as a result make more money. So if you're somebody who's like that, down below links, and I just want to say thank you for watching this, as always.